How would you like to learn the secrets of two Karma Club Award winners on how they have built successful online businesses from almost nowhere to now running multiple 7 and 8 figure businesses by following the simple fundamentals of life? And let's see how they have used the powerful funnel systems, processes, automation, and social media to help their business grow at a different pace. Let's dive into their journey to grasp the strategy, mindset, action plan of how they have done it from almost nowhere to the way up to 7 figures. We are going to uncover and pick their brains of the top performing entrepreneurs on this show. How they have done it and how you can do it too. You are listening to the Nikhil Sai, the host, and welcome to the Nikhil Sai Show. What's going on? What's going on? Everyone who's actually listening to this podcast right now. First of all, guys, welcome to the Nikhil Sai Show, which is hosted by me, the Nikhil Sai. And guess what's going on today? We are back with another amazing two Karma Club interview. And guess who is joining us the podcast today? We are having an industry expert specialized in digital marketing who have been helping hundreds of companies scale, leveraging ads and automated funnels, which is freaking awesome. He's been an expert where he's been getting a lot of appointments for high ticket service providers like chiropractors, construction field, medical professionals, real estate, and whatnot. So, guys, this is going to be a very interesting podcast if you are trying to fix the marketing inside your company where you're providing high ticket services. So, let's not waste any time and actually let's welcome Dean Ha, CEO at Renegade Media Company. Hey, Dean.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dean. How are
Yeah,
you doing?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on.
Absolutely. And Dean, like you've been actually killing it when it comes to building proven marketing system inside local businesses, dentists, chiropractors, and all of this stuff. So before you got into marketing, can you please talk a little bit about like your backstory? Like how did all of this crazy journey started?
Yeah. So, before I got into digital marketing, I was in the United States Marines. So I spent 10 years as in the military. And when I got out of the military, I popped into a local car dealership because I was unable to find work anywhere else. So started selling cars and worked my way up to sales manager and finance manager. And I worked in the auto industry for over 10 years. And while I was in the car business, my wife was really getting tired of all the time and that I was putting into the dealership. We were making really good money, but she wanted me to have a little bit more home life as well. So we
Hmm.
opened up a brick and mortar business, and we launched that right at the end of or at the beginning of 2007. And then, as a lot of us know, the housing busted, and car dealerships all over the country started going out of business. And unfortunately, the dealership I was working with went out of business. So I had my brick and mortar business that I had to like really bootstrap and get that business off the ground. And this is where I really started learning digital marketing. And
Hmm.
I learned how to do some local SEO and some Google pay per click. And I was able to get that business flourishing. I actually got it up to over 5,000 customers and generated over $500,000 in sales in just under 3 years. And then, lo and behold, the economy really took a tank, and my wife and I split up. And because we were going through a divorce, I was forced to sell this business, and I had to sell the business at a huge loss because we had taken out a bunch of loans to bootstrap the business. And
Hmm.
when I did that, I had to find a way to generate some revenue or generate some income, and I turned to local internet marketing, and that's how I got my feet wet. Is I started going out there and servicing local business owners. I figured if I could generate sales and traffic to my business, I could do this for anybody. So I started
Yep.
on the local side, first starting servicing a lot of the local auto dealerships in the area that had survived the housing bust, and
Hmm.
really generated a bunch of traffic. And in about 2016, I decided to expand my business and started using Facebook and Google pay per click and started attracting clients from all around the country. And now we service well over 100 clients a year, and really been able to take not only my business to the next level, but a lot of our clients that implement our proven strategies been able to help them add 300, 500, even $1 million in revenue or more in less than 12 months.
Wow, that's beautiful thing. Yeah, that's so amazing transformation you actually had inside your career, especially transitioning from military into actually building your own digital marketing agency, which is freaking awesome. So yeah, I mean, Dean, like you've been one of those nerds who have been sitting on digital marketing, especially working with hundreds of businesses, generating them quality leads, right? And this is a never-ending question right now, especially in 2021. The lead costs have been freaking high. Everyone is struggling to get attention. The CPM is very high. Can you talk a little bit more about like what do you think is the best way to generate quality leads, especially for the businesses that you type of work with?
Well, we focus a lot on the higher ticket, so higher price point industries. So versus like working with just a chiropractor, we're going to work with a chiropractor that offers like spinal decompression. So a spinal decompression can a patient's going to pay between $3,000 to $6,000 for a treatment. So
Hmm.
because of that price tag is a little bit higher, that customer is going to require a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more relationship building before that customer walks through the door. So we
Yeah.
really focus on the customer journey. So from the moment that that person goes out there and starts looking for how to fix the problem I have. So let's just talk about like a chiropractor, for example. They're going to help
Hmm.
people that got chronic back pain or chronic leg pain or chronic hip pain. And a lot of times these people have been dealing with these issues for a really long time. There's a probably good chance they've already talked to a handful of doctors, maybe other chiropractors, and there's a reason why they're not seeing success. So when we bring a client on, we help them really develop a unique selling position. So a program that they put together that if people go through these steps, they're going to get better results. So this is what makes our customer unique among their peers in their market, and the customer can only buy this particular program through them. So with the online space, you're able to kind of automate a lot of this education with the customer so they understand who you are, what it is that
Hmm.
you can help them with, what your process is and why it gets results versus what the other competitors are offering. And then we show a lot of social proof. So we get a lot of testimonials, we get a lot of reviews, and we package this together and say, all right, if you go through steps A through Z, you're going to have this outcome. And typically this outcome comes within a specific amount of time. So people that don't follow the path, they don't get the same results as those that do follow the path. So we really want to articulate what the path is so that way the customer understands if they're on it or if they're not on it. So this is how we use that content as questions that they ask the competitors. Do you do it this way? And if they don't do it this way, they know that Dr. Bob, he gets an 85 or a 90% success rate because they got it this way, and you can't
Hmm.
get these same results. So now the customer says, well, Dr. Bob can do it. I'm going to go and doctor with Dr. Bob. And if we provide a really good, um, you know, thought process or timeline, then the customer is going to say, you know what, I would be crazy to do business with anybody else other than Dr. Bob, regardless of how much it is, because
Yeah.
he's able to get me results. So we use that same process with us and all of our clients.
That's beautiful. And I think it's not 1990s where lead is the only thing. It's more about what relationship you have the lead, which really matters because leads are available everywhere. It's more about like who he's trusting, what kind of education background do they have about you, your business, your product, your service, and the success rate. I think the kind of educational system you've been created to acquire those leads from a different background, I think that helps a lot. That was freaking amazing. So Dean, that was beautiful. Appreciate that answer. Let's get to the next question. This is going to be pretty amazing too. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what kind of funnel flow is working best for appointment setting? As we have been servicing a lot of high ticket service providers. Can you talk a little bit of like what kind of funnel flow does it look like?
Yeah, so for most of our clients, we create a little bit of a combination of a webinar funnel along with a application funnel. So
Hmm.
with the when you're running traffic, we want to kind of like warm the traffic up with like an introduction video. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is who we do it for. This is why it matters to you. And if you got problem X, Y, and Z, we have a solution. So once that person watches that video, we know that they're at least interested in the thing that we can help them with. So
Yeah.
once we know this, we can then retarget that person with another ad, and then we can describe what the offer is or what the magnet is that we're going to give them, and turn them to get them into our funnel. Once they opt into the funnel, we take them into like a mini webinar where we educate the customer about what it is that we're doing, who we do it for. So that way the customer says, yes, I qualify or I don't qualify. And then we kind of like uncover some of the maybe the issues that they have dealt with when dealing with other doctors or maybe service providers that so
Hmm.
far they haven't gotten the results that they were ultimately looking for. And we kind of uncover the reasons why they're not getting the results. Like, so for example, for me, one of the reasons why a lot of business owners don't get the results with marketing agencies is because the marketing agency is focused on generating leads. And unfortunately, if we're not building a relationship with those leads, we might have some success early on the campaign, but eventually we're going to burn through that audience. And only roughly about 5 to 7% of the population, they are ready to buy right now. So the
Yeah.
other 95% of the people, they're not ready to buy. And those are the people that you actually want to nurture and build that relationship because they make up the majority of the market. So if we build a good relationship with them and we're able to educate them on why they should do business with us, well, when they do decide that they're ready to buy, they've seen us, they've heard us, they've seen us in multiple places. They are convinced that we can help them. Now, price is no longer an objection. It's now how can I ensure that you're going to work with me versus all the other candidates out there. So the customer actually has to go through an application process to make sure that they are qualified for us to work with them. So now they're
Hmm.
asking us to work with them versus us asking them to work with us. So it's a
True.
completely different mindset that the customer goes through at that point.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Dean. So you're actually transitioning the outbound marketing into specifically speaking, inbound. You're attracting them end of the funnel, getting them to book an appointment with you, and you're turning that around. That's beautiful. And Dean, I mean, you've been one of the most successful marketing agencies in the entire space, especially when it comes to providing services. And you've been acquiring clients day in, day out, as just mentioned, roughly estimated to 10 to 15 new clients every month, which is freaking awesome. Can you tell us what is the best client acquisition system to get high ticket clients like you're working with? How do you attract more clients?
Are you speaking like is the question like is it Facebook, is it Google, or is it YouTube? Or is
Yeah,
that the
what
question?
kind of systems you have in your for your agency? Like, how do you acquire clients? Is that referrals? Is that any marketing funnels? How does that look like?
Well, most of our traffic is coming through paid traffic strategies, and this is the caveat about the system that we build not only for ourselves but for our clients. Once you focus on the marketing side, so in every business, there's really two sides of the outbound or inbound marketing. So you got the marketing side of it. That is when you
Hmm.
identify who you want to have as a customer. You got to understand who that person is first. Once we understand who that person is, then we want to develop a message that speaks directly to that customer. So the more that we understand the customer, the problem that the customer has, and the solution that I can provide that can overcome that problem, the easier that we can articulate that solution to the customer, the easier they understand it, the easier it is for them to buy. So once we have that in place, then it really doesn't really matter where the traffic comes from because everybody's going through the same buying process. It doesn't matter if it's coming from Facebook or YouTube or Google. Now we're taking them through a marketing system that is making sure that one, I'm talking to the right person. Two, they have a problem that I can solve. Three, I can articulate on how this process works that is different than everybody else. I want to show proof that it works. And then I want to give that person an opportunity to do business with me. So that's where I create my offer. And in
Hmm.
every aspect, you want to create a clear next step. So if that's hopping on a phone or if that's coming into an appointment, the customer has to understand where they're at in their journey. And if we have systems in place, we can automate, what happens when the customer raises their hands. Maybe they fall out of the system at certain points, but if they raise their hand with a question, then we need to have something that can notify a salesperson to reach out to that person manually and overcome the objection or answer the question or whatever that is to get them back into the sales process. And so this is where a lot of business owners and a lot of marketing agencies fall short because they don't look at the full buyer journey. They only look at generating the interest. And this is why so many businesses fall flat because I can create interest, but creating a buyer is a completely different scenario.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, brother. That was pretty interesting and so insightful, especially as a marketing agency myself. Let's get to the next question, Dean. This is going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, starting a marketing agency, getting, a handful of clients is easy. When it comes to scaling our own marketing agency to like a seven-figure level, it's a whole different game, right? You need to have much more systems and processes in scale. So, Dean, can you talk a little bit more about like the journey? How was the journey from actually going from starting a marketing agency, cutting edge marketing agency in 2016 to now hitting your seven-figure level? How was the journey overall?
Yeah, so for the first, probably first 4 or 5 years, I was pretty much a solar entrepreneur. I was doing a lot of the work myself, doing all the fulfillment for my clients. Um, I always had like a part time VA that kind of like helped me like set things up so that way it can save me a little bit of time. And I started this back in 2012. So even from the very beginning, even day one, I knew that I wasn't very good at the technical stuff. So I hired somebody to do the technical stuff. I was always been good at the sales part of it. Um, but when it came to 2016, when I really decided to take my business to the next level, I knew the only way for me to really scale is that I needed to have more dedicated people for specific things. So, for example, one of the areas that I needed a lot of help on was like customer support, customer service, because I'm good at sales, but and getting that person to say yes, but I'm not always the best at following up with them or communicating with them to make sure that they're happy. So a lot of times,
Yeah.
what I was discovering is that I would bring a bunch of people in, and I would lose them because I wasn't really providing the support, even though I was doing a good job in
Hmm.
getting them results. I wasn't really communicating them that. So it wasn't until I brought on a handful of people to kind of fill those roles that really took my business to the next level.
Yeah, buddy, that was absolutely beautiful. So, as you have just seen that one of the ways to actually scale up is having the right team around ourselves, right? Which is pretty interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about like how do you actually hire people when it comes to, looking at an agency at a scale standpoint? Like how do you find the right fits? How do you determine that they're good? How do you get key leaders, specifically speaking, into your company?
Well, when you first start off, it's kind of like a trial and error. When I first got started, they didn't have all these different Facebook groups like they have now. So it was really tough for me to find good quality help, and be honest with you, I had to do a lot of trial and error. Now
Hmm.
I can go into a Facebook group with a lot of my peers and find out who are they using in terms of like support staff, and I can just hire from the same pool of people that they're hiring from. So today it's a lot easier to get started and scale your business than it's ever been in the past. And so if you have a marketing agency, um, you have to kind of determine where your skill set at. Are you a good at sales? Are you good at fulfillment? And that's kind of like with an agency. That's really what you have to kind of decide as the owner. Am I good at
Yeah.
sales or am I good at fulfillment? Because if you're good at fulfillment and you suck at sales, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. But if you're good at sales but you suck at fulfillment, you make some sales, but your customers won't stick around very long. So you have to hire the person that you're not. And so that was the first thing I did was I hired somebody that was good at fulfillment because I wasn't really great at fulfillment. I've always been good
Mm-hmm.
at sales. So that was the first person I hired. And then after that, I brought on a person that was good at customer service. So we're not only are we fulfilling, I'm bringing sales on, but now I got a customer service person that can kind of like maintain the relationship on a weekly or monthly basis. And so as my company grew, I just added more of those people into those roles. So another support staff to handle more accounts. Now I have a tech person, and then I have like dedicated account managers that work one on one with the clients. And my role right now is mostly focused on scaling the business, and I still do the sales. And once I get that my business probably to that next maybe 7 figures, I'll probably bring on a sales team where then I can
Hmm.
do the whole thing and just focus on the company as a whole. But right now, I'm still kind of managing the sales and the overall performance of the company.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Dean. Appreciate that answer, brother. And yeah, Dean, like running a marketing agency, like there are so many moving parts in it, as you just mentioned: fulfillment, customer support team, lead generation, appointment setup. And when it comes to fulfillment, there are a million parts again into the just the fulfillment process, right? Marketing campaigns, funnels, and whatnot, right? So can you talk a little bit more about like the kind of tools you use to manage your projects and clients for productivity?
Yeah, so the probably the number one tool that I recommend that any agency have is Google Drive. Um, you could probably manage your entire business off of Google Drive because you can create specific folders in Google Drive for your clients, and you can provide your clients like your copies of your SLPs. Like, so for us, we do a lot of lead gen and client development. So each one of our clients get like sales scripts. We provide them other high ticket services that they might be able to
Mm-hmm.
implement into their business. We provide some sales coaching. We provide some consulting. We provide complete web development. So we do a lot on that aspect. But as your team kind of gets a little bit more robust, probably the next tool that you probably want to have is Slack. So that way you have a way to communicate with your team versus email. So with Slack, I can communicate with anybody on my team, and we can upload projects or whatever, and we can get a lot done with Slack. Other than Slack, a lot of people use Asana or Trello as like a kind of a project board, kind of like know where your customers at in the process.
Mm-hmm.
We were for the last year we were using Asana and Slack, but what I was finding is that not all my team members were using both of the software. So most of my team does all their communication in Slack, but then we might have something different in Asana, like a task that need to be done, and people are not seeing the task in Asana. So I got rid of Asana and just kind of like kept everything in Slack, and then in Slack I can tie that into like a Google Drive, so that way it says, hey, check out this Google Drive. It has the task list for this week or this day, and that way I can assign it to a specific person. So now I can go in there and make sure that stuff is getting done in real time.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Thank you so much for revealing your entire system and your tech stack. Beautiful. Let's get to the next question, Dean. What kind of daily routines do you personally follow? Especially running a business.
Well, daily routine is I'm not always successful in hitting the gym and the first thing in the morning, but we try to get to the gym, every morning. If I don't make it to the gym every morning, I'm going to the gym at least every night. At night, I start working probably about 9:30 every day, and I work until noon. And every Monday we have a managers meeting, so that way I can like talk about what the plan is for this week, discuss any problems or issues that any of our clients are having, come up with a
Yeah.
plan on how to fix those issues, start implementing those things. And we always have our daily goals, like how many leads are we generating, how many of those leads turn into appointments, and we do that for all our clients, including ourselves. And so if whoever is falling short, then we address it in with that individual. And then later at night, right around 9 o'clock, I turn all the TV and all the like digital stuff off, and we either read a book for an hour, or we get some motivation. So right now I'm listening to Tony Robbins. So we do that between 9 and 10 o'clock, and we try to be in bed by 10:30 at the latest, so we can start that day all over again. Be up by 6 or 6:30 every day to start that process all over again.
That beautiful, beautiful, Dean. Thank you so much for a quick rundown on your routine. Let's get to the next question, brother. This would be interesting to answer. Let's say if you have an option to start all over again, like you are doing, from your 20 years yourself. What will be your number one suggestion for a 20-year-old you or someone who is just getting started into business?
Well, I have this. It's funny that you asked this because I'm having this discussion with my daughter, who is 19 right now, and every time I talk to her, I says, you really have two choices in life. Well, you got three choices in life. You can do nothing, right? And you can be a complete loser. You can always work for somebody. And, right now, even if you got a bachelor's degree, you're not very competitive unless you got some experience in that field. So, 90% of the people that have bachelor's degrees, they don't even work in the field that they got their degree in. Um, or you can create a business of your own. And I
Hmm.
think any 20-year-old out there, or I guess the fourth option is you could go in the military, which that's a good option if you don't really know what to do with your life and you just don't want to sit there and do nothing. Join the military. It's a good option. I was in the Marines. I don't recommend joining the Marines unless you want to go into combat, because it's not an if, it's a when. You're going to go to combat. But any of the other branches of the services, um, I think you can get a good education. You're going to get some skills. You're going to have some. They're going to make you grow up really fast, and get you some discipline. So if you don't want to go that route, start a business. At least at 20, you have plenty of time to succeed and fail, and try different things until you find something that works for you. And you don't have to be an agency. You can be a consultant. You can be a coach. You can own an ecom business. You can be a service provider. There's a thousand and one different things you can do as a business owner. You can start a franchise. You can start up a gym. I mean, you find something that you really like and you go down that path and you try to make it work. And so, if I was going to go back to my 20-year-old self, which at that point I was in the Marine Corps, I had enlisted at the age of 18. I was enlisted for 6 years the first time around. So
Wow.
I was about halfway through my enlistment by the age of 20. I would have probably told myself, when your enlistment's done, get out and start a business. At least invest into the stock market, because if I invested back then, so at the age of 20, that was in 1998. Um, yeah, no, 92, so 94 was when I was 20. Yahoo just came out. So if I invested, a couple $1,000 at Yahoo, it would be worth millions of dollars, today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
would
a
do
beautiful
myself
advice.
in my 20s. Invest in Yahoo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful advice. I think every 20-year-old or someone who's just getting started in the business should create their own business and invest in right businesses which have the potential to grow, because we never want to look back and say, "Oh, I missed that opportunity," when you had that opportunity to actually invest and become right. That's the best advice. Thank you so much for that, Dean. Let's get to the next question, brother. Your life's biggest achievement so far and any next bigger goals.
A life achievement. So right after my biggest achievement was right after my divorce, and I had to sell my business. I took a huge loss when I sold my business,
Hmm.
and I basically had to start all over again. I mean, I was literally um, because the business was tied to my house. We had to sell our house. We lost the house. I mean, we literally had to start all over again. So my biggest achievement was, getting pulling myself out of that big hole that I dug myself into, and at least digging out, starting a business. I literally started with no money, and I was so far behind rent. I mean, I was probably going to get evicted the next month. I had like $75 to my name, and I decided to go all in on my business, and I stuck to it, and I finally made it work. So if I wasn't so dedicated to my why on why I wanted to get out of that rut, I would have probably failed, and who knows what would happen. But that was probably
Yeah.
my biggest achievement. The second, my next goal right now is really trying to make an impact, not only in my community but maybe worldwide. So I'm looking at maybe starting some coaching or consulting as a side gig from my agency, and that's probably what I'm going to go into next. And my ultimate, I guess biggest business idea, or not business idea, but life plan is, we're in the process of building a house. Like to have my debt completely paid off in the next 2 years or so, and be able to travel and enjoy the world, and see all what life has to offer. If, at least you're only in life this roll around at this point. who knows what happens in the next life? You're a completely different person. But at least
Yeah,
in this life, we only have one life to live. So um, I'm interested in trying to make every opportunity I can to see everything I can see.
beautiful, beautiful, Dean. Appreciate that, brother. Let's get to the next question. What was the biggest mistake in your life so far, especially in terms of business?
Business, biggest mistake in life. Well, I don't think it's mistakes. I think they're learning opportunities. So I don't really believe in mistakes. I think that everything is a learning opportunity. If you don't learn from it, then it absolutely is a mistake. So um, maybe probably getting married too young. So I was only 21 when I got married. So that's probably too young to get married. Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps. I've been in the Marine Corps 3 years when I got married, and probably not mature enough to be responsible for another human being. So
Mm,
that that ultimately leads to future problems with your marriage. Um, and then the other mistake, I could probably honestly say this is a mistake. I was in the car business or sold cars for 10 years. I probably was way in the car business way too long. I should have probably got out after 5 or 6 years. I tried to get out at 5 or 6 years, but the money was just too good for me to get out. I was making well into multiple six figures, and I just I didn't want to give up that false sense of security. So if I got out of the car business earlier and I went a little bit more into owning a business, because I had an idea. This is probably 2005 or 2006 at this point. I had been in the car business 3 or 4 years at that point, and Google SEO and Google pay per click, well, just at their infancy at this point. Where
mm,
just a lot of people are making money doing this, and I should have got out of selling cars and started the business back then, because life would have been completely different. So that was probably my biggest mistake there, is that I stayed in the car business too long, and I let somebody else dictate my income. So um, my biggest advice is that you can't let other people dictate on how you're going to live your life. You gotta live life on your terms. So if you work for somebody else, you got to make yourself so invaluable that they would be completely foolish to replace you with somebody else. Or if you work for yourself, you got to have a job that nobody that is always going to be around. So medical is always going to be around, marketing is always going to be around, advertising is always going to be around. The way that people market and advertise might change, but they're always going to need it if there's always going to be businesses. So that's what my 2 cents is.
yeah, beautiful, Dean. Appreciate that, brother. Let's get to the next question. Your
Sure.
main inspiration for success, like what keeps you motivated, and the key people involved in your journey.
So the main inspiration for success. Um, right now, my main inspiration for success is just total fulfillment. So, what does that mean? I want to be financially independent or financially wealthy. I want to have time that I can do the things I want to do, and when you have those two things together, it provides opportunities. Now, of course, money can't buy happiness, but what money can buy is options. So I can choose where my kids go to school. I can choose on what community that I live in. I can choose on what part of the world I want to live in. I can choose the experiences I have, the people I want to hang out with. That's all the things that money can buy you. And if you're a good steward with the environment and your community, you can take some of that money and you can give back and help others, achieve their dreams. So, I don't think anybody succeeds without other people. So the key people involved on um, I have my family, my girlfriend that I'm in with now. She's definitely been an intricate part of my success. She's been there from day one, watching me go through this journey, and her support has really helped me stay grounded.
That's beautiful, brother. Yeah, appreciate that. And Dean, like, what an amazing person. You've been running successful marketing agencies so far, and you have a much bigger impact to create. So, where can our audience find you mentoring or start working with you?
Second now. Oh, where
Sorry.
they can find me. Oh, so of course you can just Google, just go to Google and type in Dean Ha. So that's spelled DeanHawe. If you Google me, you'll find me on Google. If you look for Renegade Media Company, that's all spelled out. You'll find my business. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. You can search my name, Dean Ha, on Facebook, or you can search Renegade Media Company. You can find that on Facebook or YouTube. There's a lot of places you can find me. All you have to do is go to Google, type my name in, and I'm all over the place.
That's awesome, Dean. Appreciate that. So, guys, you know what to do. Get in touch with Dean, and you'll definitely have good systems and process in your business to get qualified appointments. And that was beautiful, Dean. Any last word before we conclude the total podcast session for today?
No, it was just a pleasure to be on the interview, and thank you for inviting me to chat with your audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing if anybody has questions or concerns or just want to chat. So I'm looking forward to hearing from people.
Yep, appreciate that, Dean. And again, once again, Dean, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. It was definitely absolutely insane having you on, and the kind of value you dropped, especially about generating leads and setting appointments and having the right funnel side and the right people, was absolutely insane. So, guys, I hope you guys learned so far. Make sure to grab notes and really listen to this podcast and implement everything you have learned. Don't let this podcast be another information you hear, but make it an implementation action plan and just do it. Don't wait for no one to give you instructions on. So stay tuned for the next interviews, guys. This is me, the Nikhil Sai, and Dean Ha signing off for today. I'll be back with another amazing 2 Comma Club winner very soon. Peace. Bye, Dean.
Have a good day.